Good evening, dosto. Good evening, all. So let's begin with today's session. Look at the first question. The Scarborough Shoal is the disputed territory primarily between. So it has been a flashpoint between both the countries, China and Philippines. Where is Scarborough Shoal? It is situated in the South China Sea, right? Where? In the South China Sea. And it is a fine case of conflict of interest between both the countries. Now try to understand the arguments of both, right? First of all, look at the argument of China. China says that as per its 9 dash line. So 9 dash line, it is an imaginary line of China within the South China Sea. So as per the 9 dash line, everything which falls within the 9 dash line belongs to China. So Scarborough Shoal, it lies within the 9 dash line. Therefore, China claims its historical rights over this territory. Now look at the Philippines. Philippines cites the international law. Philippines says that as per the UNCLOS, the United Nations Convention on the Law of Sea, Scarborough Shoal falls within its exclusive economic zone EEZ. What is the size of the exclusive economic zone? That is 200 nautical mile, right? Do remember that in 1 nautical mile there is 1.8 kilometers approximately, right? So as per the Philippines, Scarborough Shoal falls within its EEZ. Therefore, it belongs to Philippines, right? What is happening here? Overlapping of territories, right? तो ओवरलैपिंग हो रहा है यहाँ पे क्लेम्स का टेरिटरीज का ये बेसिकली एक एप्पल ऑफ डिस्कॉर्ड है बिटवीन चाइना एंड फिलीपींस राइट नाउ द क्वेश्चन इज व्हाई वी पिक्ड अप दिस क्या रीजन इस क्वेश्चन को पिक करने के पीछे सो रिसेंटली चाइना conducted a naval and air patrol around the disputed South China Sea. See, it is basically an act of intimidation, right? Do remember that in 2016, the Permanent Court of Arbitration ruled in the favor of Philippines, but China does not respect its decision, right? Now look at the map of the Scarborough Reef and the South China Sea. So ये जो आप देख रहे हैं this red line, this is nothing but the 9 dash line of China, right? ये जो आप देख रहे हैं dashes, ये this is the 9 dash line of China, राइट और यहाँ पे काफी सारे जो टेरिटरीज काफी सारे आइलैंड्स हैं जो डिस्प्यूटेड हैं लाइक पैरासल आइलैंड स्पार्टले आइलैंड जेम्स शोल राइट स्कारबोरो शोल पर्टास आइलैंड सो यहाँ पे मल्टीपल टेरिटरीज हैं विच आर डिस्प्यूटेड बिटवीन चाइना एंड दी सराउंडिंग कंट्रीज लाइक वियतनाम मलेशिया ब्रुनेई फिलीपींस ताइवान राइट चलिए नाउ लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन सो लुक एट द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन क्वेश्चन नंबर 2. With reference to the State Disaster Response Fund, SDRF, consider the following statements. The first statement says, it is constituted under the Disaster Management Act of 2005 and is the primary fund available with the state government for responding to the notified disasters. Absolutely correct. See, when it comes to the notified disasters, as per the Disaster Management Act of 2005, as of now, there are 12 notified disasters. For example, drought. Okay. For example, drought. For example, avalanche. Right? Snowfall, hailstorm. ये सब क्या है फॉरेस्ट फायर ये सब नोटिफाइड डिजास्टर्स के एग्जाम्पल हैं सो प्रेजेंटली देर आर टोटल 12 notified disasters. The second statement says the state governments are permitted to use up to 50% of the SDRF for the disaster not included in the notified list of the Ministry of Home Affairs if such disasters are considered locally significant. No, that is not 50 percentage. That is only 10 percentage. So जो नॉन नोटिफाइड डिजास्टर्स हैं उस पे आप एसडीआरएफ से कितना परसेंट फंड्स आप यहाँ पे आप एक्सपेंडिचर कर सकते हो उसका सिर्फ 10% का यहाँ क्या लिखा हुआ है 50%. So second statement is incorrect here, right? So question is which of these statements given above is oblique are correct? So only one. So A for Ahmedabad would be the correct answer, right? So look at the explanation part. As per the Disaster Management Act of 2005, currently there are 12 notified disasters, right? Like earthquake, fire, flood, tsunami, drought, hailstorm, landslide, avalanche, cloudburst, pest attack, frost and cold wave, and cyclones, right? So 10% expenditure हो सकता है यहाँ से not 50%. चलिए now let's move on to the next question. With reference to the Shipkila Pass, consider the following statements. The first statement says, it is a high mountain pass located in the tribal district of Kinnur in Himachal Pradesh, forming the path of Indo-China border. Absolutely correct. Second statement says, the Satluj River enters India from the Tibet Autonomous Region through this pass. Again, correct. The third statement says it is the only frontier pass of India used for the trade and commerce with China. The statement number third is incorrect here. Why? Because the cross-border trade between India and China that is conducted through Nathula Pass, which is situated in Sikkim, and then Lipu Lake Pass, which is situated in उत्तराखंड. क्लियर, याद रखिएगा. इनफैक्ट दोनों ही रूट्स का इस्तेमाल कैलाश मानसरोवर यात्रा के लिए होता है, राइट. और जो हिस्टोरिकल रूट है दैट गोज थ्रू नाथुला पास, और जो कंटेम्पररी रूट है दैट गोज थ्रू द लिपु लेक पास, राइट. So I hope you guys understood. Now let's move on to the explanation part. So you can see the explanation why we picked up this question. So Shipkila Pass is located in the state of Himachal Pradesh. Satluj River that enters India through the Shipkila Pass, that is correct. But it is not the only frontier trade pass. India also has Lipu Lake Pass in Uttarakhand and Nathula Pass in Sikkim for the trade with China. Recently, there's a demand to open the third gateway for the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra from this Shipkila Pass, which is situated in Himachal Pradesh, right? Now let's move on to the next question, question number 4. So with reference to the Sahyadri Tiger Reserve, consider the following statements. The first statement says, it is located in the Sahyadri range of the Western Ghats and is the northernmost tiger habitat in this region. Absolutely correct. The second statement is, it comprises two protected areas, the Koina Wildlife Sanctuary and the Chandoli National Park. Again correct. The third statement is, it is dominated by the mangrove forest and the coastal wetlands. No, that is not correct. See, when it comes to the mangrove forest, so total geographical area ka around 0.15 percentage that belongs to the mangrove forest in India, right? Also remember that when it comes to the state, so West Bengal has the largest mangrove forest in the country, right? एंड वेस्ट बंगाल के बाद किसका नंबर आता है, दैट इज ऑफ गुजरात. अगर मैं ओवरऑल अगर एक सिंगल लार्जेस्ट एरिया की बात करूं, सो सुंदरबन जो है, सुंदरबन इज द लार्जेस्ट मंगरूव फॉरेस्ट इन इंडिया, राइट. अब मंगरूव फॉरेस्ट और कहां कहां पे मिलेंगे आपको, लक्षद्वीप में मिलेंगे आपको, अंडमान एंड निकोबार में आपको मिलेंगे, देन उड़ीसा में मिलेंगे, आंध्र प्रदेश में आपको मिलेंगे, राइट. सो डू रिमेंबर. क्लियर. चलिए, now let's move on to the explanation part. So you can see the explanation here. Sahyadri Tiger Reserve, it lies in the western Ghats of Maharashtra and is the northernmost tiger habitat in that region. Absolutely correct. The reserve is characterized by the moist evergreen and semi-evergreen and the deciduous forest, not the mangrove or the coastal wetlands, right? So look at the next question, question number 5. Which of the following states is allowing the private companies to participate under a public-private partnership model to take up the large-scale saffron cultivation? That is a state of Andhra Pradesh, right? Look at the explanation part. There's a location called the Lamba Singhi. So Lamba Singhi is situated in Andhra Pradesh and it is referred as the Kashmir of South, right? It is known as the Kashmir of South. Why? Because it is quite favorable for the saffron cultivation and it is situated in the Eastern Ghats, right? So Andhra Pradesh government under the Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu has announced a PPP model for the large-scale saffron cultivation at Lamba Singhi in the Alluri Raju district. The initiative aims to attract the entrepreneurs and the agri firms through incentives and making Lamba Singhi, known as the Kashmir of South, a new saffron hub outside the Jammu and Kashmir. देखिए जम्मू एंड कश्मीर में there's a town called पैम्पोर. तो पैम्पोर में सेफ्रॉन कल्टीवेशन होता है. सो डू रिमेंबर दिस, राइट. चलिए, और बेस्ट क्वालिटी सेफ्रॉन आपको कहां मिलेगा पूरे वर्ल्ड में, दैट इज कल्टिवेटेड इन ईरान, राइट. So look at the next question. India's only mud volcano, which recently erupted, is situated in which of the following locations? The correct answer is, that is the Baratang Island, which is situated in Andaman and Nicobar, right? So you can see the explanation part. See, India's only active mud volcano erupted in October 2025, right? So recently an article was published in the Hindu which says that samples of India's only active mud volcano in Andaman dates back to 23 million years. The Geological Survey of India said, right? So Barren Island, yaad rakhiyega, this is the only active volcano of India, right? Chaliye, now let's move on to the next question. So look at the question number 7. Consider the following statements regarding the alternative dispute resolution mechanism in India. The first statement says the arbitration award is binding on the parties, whereas in mediation, the settlement is binding only if mutually agreed. Absolutely correct. Second statement says in India, arbitration has a statutory backing, but mediation does not have any statutory framework. No, that is not correct. See, mediation has indeed a statutory backup under the Mediation Act of 2023. So question is, which of the following is correct in respect of the above statement? So correct answer would be is statement number one is correct, but the statement number two is false, right? So C for Calcutta would be the correct answer. In statement number one is correct, but statement number two is incorrect here, right? Look at the explanation part. We can see the explanation just a moment. An arbitration award is legally binding and enforceable like a court decree. And in case of mediation, so mediation does have a statutory backing in India now. The Mediation Act of 2023 provides a comprehensive legal framework for the mediation, including the enforcement of the mediated settlements and agreements. Why we picked up this question? So there is a strong reason. Recently, President and CGI stresses on the mediation to resolve conflicts and lower the burden on the courts. See, it would enhance the ease of doing business and the ease of living both, right? चलिए. So now let's move on to the next question. So look at the question number 8. Consider the following statements regarding a no confidence motion in India. The first statement says a no confidence motion can be introduced only in the Lok Sabha, and if passed, the Council of Ministers is constitutionally bound to resign. Absolutely correct. See, as per Article 75 of the Constitution, the Council of Ministers is collectively accountable to whom? To the Lok Sabha, right? So Lok Sabha is the popular house, and we have the concept of collective responsibility under Article 75, right? So if the Lok Sabha, if the Council of Ministers, if the Council of Ministers loses the confidence in the Lok Sabha, in that case, it will have to resign. Clear? So first statement is absolutely correct. Look at the second statement. The Constitution of India explicitly lays down the procedure for moving a no confidence motion. No, that is not correct. See, it is provided under the Lok Sabha rules 198. Clear? So statement number one is correct and the statement number two is incorrect here. So C for Calcutta would be the correct answer here, right? Look at the explanation part. You can see the explanation. A no confidence motion can be introduced only in Lok Sabha under the rule 198. If passed, the government must resign due to the collective responsibility under Article 75. The Constitution does not prescribe the procedure for the no confidence motion. The entire mechanism is governed by the rule of procedure and the conduct of business in Lok Sabha. Now, please do not get confused it with the removal procedure of the Speaker Lok Sabha. जैसे यहाँ पे term लिखा हुआ है opposition considering no confidence motion against the Speaker Om Birla. See, no confidence motion, it is a collective instrument, right? And this collective instrument can only be used against the Council of Ministers and not against an individual person. See, when it comes to the Speaker Lok Sabha and the Deputy Speaker Lok Sabha, they can be removed through a constitutional procedure which is provided under Article 94 and right? So you can understand that a speaker can be removed through a constitutional procedure which is provided under Article 94. And similarly, the deputy speaker can be removed through a constitutional procedure which is provided under Article 96, right? तो 14 days का एक प्रायर नोटिस देना होता है, याद रखिएगा. प्लस ऑल्सो रिमेंबर कि जब रिमूवल प्रोसेस चल रहा होता है उस समय स्पीकर को अपना पक्ष रखने की, अपने आप को रिप्रेजेंट करने का उसका पूरा अथॉरिटी होता है, पूरा पावर होता है, विच फॉलोज द प्रिंसिपल ऑफ नेचुरल जस्टिस. लेकिन हाँ, वो कास्टिंग वोट के समय वोट कास्ट नहीं कर सकते हैं, ये बात याद रखिएगा. प्लस ऑल्सो रिमेंबर, जब भी स्पीकर और डेप्यूटी स्पीकर का जो रिमूवल प्रोसेस है जब उसको फॉलो किया जाएगा तो वहां पे इफेक्टिव मेजोरिटी का यूज किया जाएगा, ना कि स्पेशल या फिर सिंपल मेजोरिटी का. डू रिमेंबर, राइट? तो सिंपल एंड स्पेशल मेजोरिटी नहीं बल्कि इफेक्टिव मेजोरिटी का यूज यहां पे किया जाता है. नाउ लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. मलेशिया शेयर्स इट्स लैंड बॉर्डर विद विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग कंट्रीज? See why we picked up this question, because recently Prime Minister Modi paid a state visit to Malaysia. So Thailand, Indonesia, and Brunei. Malaysia doesn't have any land border with Philippines, right? So how many of the above are correct? So only 3. So C for Calcutta would be the correct answer. Look at the map of Malaysia first. So you can see here that Malaysia, it forms its border with Thailand, with Indonesia, and with Brunei, right? and with Brunei. Clear? So, chaliye. Now let's move on to the next question. It is going to be the last question of today's session, question number 10. With reference to the Contingency Fund of India, consider the following statements. The first statement says 40% of the total corpus of the Contingency Fund of India, it is placed at the disposal of the Secretary, Department of Expenditure within the Ministry of Finance. Absolutely correct. Second statement says the contingency fund is held by the Department of Economic Affairs on behalf of the President of India. It is equally correct, right? The third statement is the withdrawal from the contingency fund of India that requires the prior approval from the parliament. No, the prior approval is not required. किसी भी unforeseen circumstances या किसी unforeseen event को meet करने के लिए इस तरह के funds की जरूरत होती है. And Article 267 of the Constitution of India it establishes the contingency fund of India. Initially the corpus was 500 crores, right? अभी इनफैक्ट 2021-22 तक के जो कॉर्पस था ये 500 करोड़ रुपीस था. इसको एनहेंस करके कर दिया गया है 30,000 crore rupees. Do remember. So both these statements 1 and 2 are correct and the third statement is incorrect here. So question is how many of these statements given above is oblique are correct? So only 2 statements are correct here. So B for Bombay would be the correct answer. Look at the explanation part. So you can see the explanation here. As per the revised norms, 40% of the corpus is placed at the disposal of the expenditure secretary within the Ministry of Finance. Absolutely correct. The fund is held by the Department of Economic Affairs on behalf of the President of India. Withdrawals do not require the prior parliamentary approval. यहाँ पे post facto approval की जरूरत पड़ती है. So parliamentary approval is taken post facto when the amount is recouped from the consolidated fund of India, right? And you can see here that in the budget 2021-2022, the size of the contingency fund of India was increased from the 500 crore rupees to 30,000 crore rupees, right? So I hope you guys understood. देखिए, this was the last question of today's session. और आपके प्रीलिम्स में अब काफी कम वक्त बाकी है. एंड उम्मीद करता हूं कि आप सब जो है आपका फोकस इस समय प्रीलिम्स पे होगा. अगर नहीं है तो अभी भी सही समय है. अभी भी अपने फोकस को प्रीलिम्स की तरफ कर लीजिए. अराउंड 125 डेज बाकी हैं आपके प्रीलिम्स में. इट इज़ द हाई टाइम दैट यू स्टार्ट प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर प्रीलिम्स इन अ प्रॉपर स्ट्रक्चर्ड मैनर, राइट? सो चलिए मिलेंगे हम अपने नेक्स्ट सेशन में दोस्तों. बाय बाय, टेक केयर, जय हिंद.